I just knew y'all was getting paid.
You did, didn't you? Everybody on the outside do believe that lie.
Yeah, we getting frustrated for no.
And then you get in here and be like, y'all do this for what? Yeah. You had to step back for a minute, didn't you? Like, wait a minute.
I say they better not say nothing to me about that money.
I ain't go that way.
No. It costs more than probably the checks for a couple months. Let's be honest. The glasses cost more than a couple months. So these questions and phone calls and Facebook ads.
Imagine being at your child's sporting event.
Oh, then that's when they really got questions.
Listen, that
What
is the
y'all
worst.
doing? Why y'all?
What did we think? Hey, look, question.
Not me, baby. You gotta tell your
I
person.
do not have an answer every single time. They be like, Tam, why you don't come to more football and basketball games? Because y'all got all the questions. I can't focus on the basketball games.
All the questions. Just stop it.
Oh, I need to go in there incognito.
I got a text this week, all caps lock. I said, ooh, did you talk to the principal yet? No, the AD better. But did you talk to the principal? Because I can't, there's nothing I can do. I just wonder which one of y'all in the school I could talk to. But none of us. None of us. None of us.
Then come back.
Let me ask you who you did talk to. That's all.
Now what? Who said? Patillo?
Oh, yes, you did. I told Kim, I said, listen. She hard head. I am.
What you do?
I got the permanent time now.
I'm pretty good.
I'm gonna text Jen.
Whatever time it's
I know. Oh, she's not supposed to know this good movie.
She won't know, but I gotta make sure she's there because I won't be.
Right.
We literally have like
my little iPad.
the pledge, the nation, before we close. So
It won't. It's not me.
hey,
It
that's
won't.
what I was just telling Love. This takes 72 pages long. I was about today because I was about to print it, and I was like,
Not me. I promise you, not me. I had to look at the agenda. My phone was like, I was like, she did this agenda. It's charged. I'm telling you. I had this drink charged for 4 hours. He said, "You bringing that?" Angry.
I can't wait to hear them see they hate to see you coming.
It's all good.
They hate to see you coming.
Like even at work.
No, I said, did I give you your pie? Agenda? Yes, ma'am. Pretty much know what's up there. But
That's why I didn't come.
okay.
Think about it until I was doing this.
Just get the paper, baby. Just get the paper. You ain't gotta do that.
I'm looking at a black screen.
Yeah, we be closed.
Dang.
Somehow it ended up on the same day.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
I'd like to call to order the special meeting work session of the Portsmouth City School Board. Ask you please stand now for a brief moment of silence. Following the moment of silence, we lay the pledge of allegiance by Miss Boone. Thank you, Ms. Boone.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Be seated. Agenda item 2.4 is a mission statement. Ms. Boone.
The mission of the Portsmouth Public School Division is to engage all students in learning that will foster academic excellence and responsible citizenship.
Thank you so much.
Welcome.
Agenda item 2.5, attendance. Madam Clerk.
Ms. Atkinson.
Here.
Mrs. Boone.
Here.
Dr. Cotton. Mrs. Futrell.
Here.
Mrs. McSwain.
Here.
Mrs. Sessom. Here. Ms. Shoemake.
Here.
Dr. Walker.
Here.
Dr. Patillo.
Here.
8 members present.
Thank you. Agenda item 2.6, consideration of the agenda for February 6th. I entertain a motion at this time.
Move for approval.
Second. Okay.
Motion made by Ms. Boone, second by Ms. Sessoms. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, roll call vote, Madam Clerk.
Ms. Atkinson.
Yes.
Mrs. Boone.
Yes.
Dr. Cotton. Mrs. Futrell.
Yes.
Ms. McSwain.
Yes.
Mrs. Sessom.
Yes.
Ms. Shoemake.
Yes.
Dr. Walker.
Yes.
Dr. Patillo.
Yes.
It's unanimous.
Thank you so much. Agenda item 3.1 is a closed session. I'll ask my vice chair will lead us in the closed session at this time.
I move that the board enter into a closed meeting under the provisions of section 2.2 -3711 of the Code of Virginia for the following purpose: consideration of personnel matters, including the assignment, performance, and resignation of specific school employees as permitted under subsection A.1, and consideration of a student disciplinary matter as permitted under subsection A.2.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Futrell. Any discussion? Seeing none, roll call vote, Madam Clerk.
Ms. Atkinson.
Yes.
Mrs. Boone.
Yes.
Mrs. Futrell.
Yes.
Ms. McSwain.
Yes.
Mrs. Sessom.
Yes.
Ms. Shoemake.
Yes.
Dr. Walker.
Yes.
Dr. Patillo.
Yes.
It's unanimous.
Thank you so much. We're entering a closed meeting at this time. Dr. Bracy.
Second.
Motion made by Ms. Boone, second by Vice Chair Atkinson. Any discussion? Seeing none, roll call vote, Madam Clerk.
Ms. Atkinson?
Yes.
Mrs. Boone?
Yes.
Dr. Cotton?
Yes.
Mrs. Futrell? She leave. Ms. McSwain?
Yes.
Ms. Sessoms?
Yes.
Mrs. Schumay?
Yes.
Dr. Walker?
Yes.
Dr. Patillo?
Yes.
Give me a cue.
Do we need to go grab her?
I'm sorry.
Do we need to go grab Board Member Futrell?
Is she in the restroom?
No, I mean, she's not.
Are we good?
Restroom. Okay.
The vote carries 8-0. All right, we'll now have item 3.3, the Pace Center update. Dr. Bracy. Dr. Simmons.
Good evening, Chair Patillo, Vice Chair Atkinson, members of the board, Dr. Bracy. I stand before you tonight to give a brief overview of the PACE Center, which is our CTE center. It's just kind of a verbal presentation in terms of just where we are. And so, as you are aware, particularly for new board members, we started this process about a year ago with the board's directive of having our own CTE center. Work closely with members of the curriculum and instruction team in terms of with all of us coming together. If you recall, we chose Mosley Architects as the architect. Mosley has completed their design. That design has been sent to the city, so the city has the design. The pre-bid meeting for the city took place on December the 19th, and the information that the city has shared with us is that pre-bid garnered 5 construction companies to bid on the project, with the high bid being $11,853,000 and the low bid being at $10 million. So the bids came in between $10 million and $11.8 million. And so from a financial standpoint, we believe that the money is there, that everything is in place. Now at this point, I talked to Dr. Bracy today, we're waiting on the city, so it's at the city level to give us where they are with actually awarding the bid to a construction company so that construction can begin. So that's why we are at this point in terms of, we meet monthly with Dr. Bracy, the operations team, to go over all of our CIP projects, and certainly this project is at the top of the list for us to try to see through to completion. So that's just a brief overview from the operational side.
Okay, and who do we talk to check on that process of awarding?
They have, Dr. Simmons and his team, they have reached out to the city engineering department, I know, all of this week, and haven't heard back. But I have a meeting scheduled tomorrow anyway with the city manager, so that'll be one of the things that I will ask for his assistance in trying to expedite a response.
Okay. Anyone else? Vice Chair.
Thank you, Chair. So the bid is closed, so we're just waiting for the award.
Yes, that's correct.
So so a company was awarded.
No, nobody's been awarded yet. So they did the pre-bid where the construction companies come, the architect has the design, and so that process has taken place.
Right.
So we know that those 5 companies, we know what the low bid was and we know what the high bid was, but no actual construction company has been awarded the actual bid as of yet. So that's what
we're waiting for the city to select out of the 5 companies.
Absolutely. That's what we're waiting on, for them to actual award the bid to a construction company.
Thank you.
Anyone else, any other questions? All right, thanks so much, sir. All right, agenda item 3.4 is the Region 2 Recovery School Steering Committee. be as Dr. Dr. White. Okay.
You leave it open. You can leave it open.
Good evening, School Board Chair Dr. Patillo, Vice Chair Atkinson, board members, and Dr. Bracy. Dr. Flowers and I are here this evening to provide more information on the proposed budget and seek approval regarding the Hope Harbor Center Region 2 Recovery School. To cap for some and introduce to others, the goal of Hope Harbor Center is to provide a structured environment where students recovering from substance abuse disorder can receive both academic and therapeutic support as they work towards graduation. As part of our planning, we reviewed the application and enrollment process and developed a framework for implementation. However, it is important to note that we did not, nor were we qualified to develop any specific application materials, student and parent interview protocols, or school tools required for admission. These aspects are required for input from experts in the field. Currently, Region 2 does not have any dedicated recovery school, leaving parents, therapists, physicians, and residential programs with limited options for our students in need. To address these gaps, we plan to implement a targeted marketing strategy to ensure that families, healthcare providers, community organizations are aware of this critical resource. This slide outlines the key components of the strategy. And this version keeps our message professional, clear, and impactful for the school board.
Thank you, Dr. White. So what I'm going to do is kind of go over the numbers. That's been the latest part of the development and the steering committee. As you can see, the first year cost will be just over $708,000 to open the school. The majority of the price, of course, of that amount is for staffing. And then the other costs include the professional development, academics, and operational fees. And during this, I want to focus more on what it is that Portsmouth is responsible for. In this slide, you'll see that for transportation costs, Portsmouth will be responsible for that fee. I work with the Office of Transportation, and this is the amount that Mr. King came up with, $20,400. Right here, this is the projected revenue for the recovery school. In the last presentation, I shared with you that Virginia Beach was awarded $550,000 from the General Assembly. That's going to be split across 2 years. And then each division was tasked with securing Virginia opioid abatement funds from the city. And we've all been working on that. And then in addition to that, Dr. Saltner, who is our program administrator, project coordinator, has been able to secure over $139,000 to go towards the price, the revenue, projected revenue, which will be $849,326, which takes us to just quickly about the abatement funds. As you all know, we are working to secure that $20,000, which originally we were asking them for $20,000 for year 2025, and then $40,000 for 5 years each year following. However, that has since changed. We're not going to need $20,000 this year. We're actually going to ask for $26,000, just over $26,000 for year 2026. And in addition to that, we also are pursuing a coordinated partnership grant. Our task was to get some letters of support and to present that to Dr. Saltner. That will be turned in with the application, as well as making sure that we have the matching funds. And so the matching funds for the coordinated grant will be the funds that we secure from the Virginia Opioid Abatement Authority. Any questions so far about that? Okay, great. So we talked a little bit about the seating, how many seats we were guaranteed. So we're guaranteed 2 seats, and we're using a shared funding formula. So this is how our total cost has been calculated. We're responsible for 7% of the cost because we'll have 7% of the student enrollment. And our fees are right here. For the operating, what it will be equivalent to is us paying $41,100 annually beginning year 2026, but for the first year, we're only going to be responsible for the transportation fee of $20,400. The breakdown here is the cost per division is $13,200 for our 2 seats, and then the $7,500 for the in-kind services, because Chesapeake Public Schools is providing the building, and so we don't have to worry about those costs there. And then our transportation fee. And the only thing we're asking for now is for board approval. We are the only school board that has not voted yet. And so tonight we'll solidify our Region 2 going forward and going into the next steps of finding a program coordinator for our recovery school. We are slated to open in August of 2025. Yes, thank you. So the next steps for us, once we get a board approval, if we get the board approval, the next steps will be for us to submit the CMR to the City Council with our request, and that will be due to them before the 27th of this month. Any questions?
You gotta add them. Do we have any questions?
Yes.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you so much for the presentation. So just want to be clear, what is the cost per child? Is it $30,000 per child or $41,000 per child?
No, that's the $41,000 is not per child. That is our fee every year. So the cost per child is just over $6,000 per child, and it's on a scale like with CSEP program. So we get so many seats per year. However, and I did not share this with you, we're guaranteed at minimum 2 seats for the $41,000. And the $41,000 is the transportation, that's the instructional supplies, the Chromebooks, the staff members, all of that is in that fee. A part of that operational cost of $708,000 a year. We are only responsible for $41,000.
Got you. So 41 is our direct cost.
Yes.
Okay. And we only have 2 seats. So what would trigger, or what would be a worst case scenario that we would recommend a child to this recovery school, being that we only have 2 seats?
We don't recommend.
Who? How? What?
So a student requests and volunteers, but the school system, the courts, no one can recommend that a student go. We can give them the information and they can seek out, but it's not something where we're making it mandatory for a student to go. And because we're guaranteed the 2 seats, we always have the 2 seats. However, if Norfolk, who has 5 seats, they only use 2, and we need 2 additional seats, we can take those and use those slots.
That was my next question. So it's voluntary, so I see that it's a whole like marketing plan to get this information out since it's voluntary. Can you explain some of like how we're gonna push this out to the parents so that they are aware?
So they're working on a marketing strategy, and so that was presented in the slide that Dr. White shared. But that is not something that the steering committee is doing. That will be something that the actual staff of the recovery school will do. So the next steps would be to make sure that we secure the funds from the city council after the vote, and then the superintendents are going to interview whoever the program coordinator will be, and they'll select that coordinator. Chesapeake Behavioral Health, they're going to hire the clinical staff, and that team will be the ones who will do the work. And we were just trying to make sure that we secured the vote to have the program or the school, and to make sure that we had funds in place so that the school could operate efficiently, but we won't be doing that work.
Thank you. And my final question, since it's voluntary, as a student, I can enroll without parental consent, or would I have to have parental consent?
You will have to have that parental consent.
Oh, thank you.
But the parents cannot make a child go.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you, Chair. You said we can get Norfolk's 2 seats if they don't use it. Do that mean we need to pay? We have to pay them?
No, no additional cost.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, that was a good question.
That was my question. We talked about it last time about the voluntary piece for the parent.
I have one short question. Thank you, Chair. The funding, is that already allocated from us? Because the CMR, of course, when that goes in front of council, that's funds that could possibly come from either the city, or is that coming out of our budget?
It's coming from the city.
Oh, okay.
It's coming from the city.
There we go.
So the Virginia Opioid Abatement Authority, they give money for opioid support.
Yeah.
And so the money is right there, and it can only be used for that. Right. So since this recovery school is a direct nexus, we don't anticipate there being a problem with us securing that money. And I was told by our project coordinator that if need be, we can have the regional abatement representative come and speak with the city if we're having some difficulty.
I got you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. Any other questions?
The city will put it in there.
Thank you so much. I want to ask if I have a motion to add agenda item. We'll make it add agenda item 3. I want to change 3.8 to a vote to approve, or a vote for the recovery school. So we can have an approval on that. It's now on the agenda right now. So I had to entertain a motion for that.
He said second.
So
We need to move on 3.8 and then move
everything down.
Okay. Move for approval. Second.
Yeah, already second.
All right. Motion made by Ms. Who did it? By Ms. Shoemaker. Second by Dr. Cotton.
Yeah.
And this will make that agenda item 3.8, and we'll shift everything else down. All right, we'll do a roll call vote.
Ms. Atkinson?
Yes.
Mrs. Boone?
Yes.
Dr. Cotton?
Yes.
Mrs. Futrell?
Yes.
Ms. McSwain?
Yes.
Mrs. Sessoms?
Yes.
Ms. Shoemake?
Yes.
Dr. Walker?
Yes.
Dr. Patillo?
Yes.
It's unanimous.
Thank you so much. Agenda item 3.5 is recognition of VSBA School Board Clerk Appreciation Week for February 17th through the 21st. I'll get Ms. Atkinson, Vice Chair, to read one for me. I'll go ahead and present these.
All right. 2025 VSBA School Board Clerk Appreciation Week, February 17th through the 21st, 2025. This one goes to Ms. Brenda Stewart. In appreciation of your dedication and hard work for public education, do continued service to the students of the Commonwealth of Virginia. Signed by VSBA President Dr. Jawanda Rawlins Fells and Executive Director Gina Patterson. Nice. Thank you. And the second award goes to Miss Susan Patterson. Same verbiage.
Thank you so much, you both.
Thank you.
Agenda item 3.6 is a roll call vote, consideration of a resolution recognizing African American History Month for February 2025.
Move for approval.
Second.
Is he reading it or we just?
We read it.
Yeah, y'all wanna hear it?
Move for approval. Second.
Okay. Motion made by Ms. Futrell, second by Ms. McSwain. Not even like hearing you read it.
We love it.
I'm starting to think that.
You just read so much. We just want to try to help you.
Any discussion? Roll call vote, Madam Clerk.
It's February.
Ms. Atkinson,
Yes, I guess.
Mrs. Boone, Dr. Cotton.
Yes.
Mrs. Butrell.
Yes.
Mrs. McSwain.
Yes.
Mrs. Sessoms.
Yes.
Ms. Shumate.
Yes.
Dr. Walker.
Yes.
Dr. Patillo.
Yes.
It's unanimous.
Thank you so much. Agenda item 3.7, consideration of a resolution recognizing Careers in Education Month, February 2025.
Move for approval.
Motion made by Ms. Butrell, second by Ms. Boone. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, roll call vote, Madam Clerk.
Ms. Atkinson.
I'm appalled.
You said yes.
She said yes. Oh, I didn't hear.
Yes, sorry, Ms. Brenda. Yes.
Dr. Cotton.
Yes.
Mrs. Butrell.
Yes.
Ms. McSwain.
Yes.
Ms. Sessoms. Ms. Shumate. Yes. Dr. Walker.
Yes.
Dr. Patillo.
Yes.
It's unanimous.
Agenda item 3.8 is now an approval for the recovery school. I entertain a motion at this time.
Move for approval.
Motion made by Vice Chair Atkinson, second by Dr. Walker. Any discussion? Seeing none, roll call vote, Madam Clerk.
Ms. Atkinson.
Yes.
Mrs. Boone.
Yes.
Dr. Cotton.
Yes.
Mrs. Butrell.
Yes.
Ms. McSwain.
Yes.
Mrs. Sessoms.
Yes.
Ms. Shumate.
Yes.
Dr. Walker.
Yes.
Dr. Patillo.
Yes.
It's unanimous.
Thank you so much. Agenda item 3.8 is report the superintendent's estimate of needs for the 2025-26 budget. Dr. Brees.
3.9.
3.9, I'm sorry.
All right, good evening, Chairman Patillo, Vice Chair Atkinson, members of the board. I know you're anxiously awaiting my budget recommendation for this year, so we'll get right into the presentation. I do want to first thank the board for their input during this budget development process. As always, your perspectives are vital for us to have in order to move forward with recommendations. And I appreciate your candor during our planning discussions. At this time, I'll turn it over to our CEO, Mr. Falk, to go through the first part of the presentation.
Good evening, Dr. Patillo, Vice Chair Atkinson, members of the school board. We stand before you tonight to give you an overview of the superintendent's estimate of needs. As we do every year, we like to talk about all of the funds that we have so that everybody in the school board as well as the general public understands the funds that we have within our total budget. Our first fund, which is 79% of that budget, is the general fund. That covers all the day-to-day operations for the school division. That's where salaries and benefits are paid from, as well as any of the general operating from transportation operations, all of the instructional initiatives, anything that relates to the general day-to-day school board operations. Secondly, you'll see risk management fund. Simply, that fund manages all of our health, dental, all of our insurances for our benefits for our employees, as well as our risk management, property and casualty insurance, workers' comp, and any of the other risk management programs that we have. That is 8% of our budget. The grants fund, the funds that help us manage at all times those grants from federal, state, local, and other sources such as Title I, special education, career and technical education, those particular programs that we subscribe to manage based on how the grant is written and to make sure that the school operates in the way that the grant tells us to operate. The next fund is the cafeteria fund, which basically manages all of the food services programs that we provide to our students, all those quality, healthy meals that we give them to make sure they're functioning properly within the school function. And then lastly is the textbook fund. And that 1%, that manages all of the textbook purchases from the school division. So those are an overview of the 5 funds that are within our total budget. So you will see here with the total of all those funds, a total of $295.4 million. That's the total of all the 5 funds. The general fund having $232.4. The risk management fund, $23.7 million, textbook, $1.9 million, textbook fund, $12.3 million, and grants fund, $25.1 million. The majority of this presentation will talk about the general fund, but we wanted to give you a good snapshot of all those funds that we contain within our function of managing the funds of the school division. So the proposed general fund budget. This year, we're looking at the general fund at $232.4 million for 25-26. That is the proposal. That is roughly about $22.4 million above the current year budget of $210.1 million. This proposal that we're providing tonight provides priorities that came from the school board, from staff, from the community, to make sure that the schools are operating in the lines of what everybody wants to see for the student and the employees. It focuses on enhancing student achievement, those inputs that we need to provide to our students so they'll succeed. It also includes our operations of our facilities, our buildings, all of those things we need to do to keep buildings running, transportation, as well as vital school division services that are provided. In addition, technology. Obviously, technology is the backbone of a lot of what we do now, and we try to make sure we're on the cutting edge and that we provide funding to support the technology resources of the school division as well. These initiatives allow us to address what our stakeholders have made as priorities for their school division. So in short, we've tried to work a budget that is a budget of need, that takes care of all the needs that we can provide to the school division, taking into account all of the information that we have and all of the things that we need to do to support and make this school division shine bright as we do each day. Now let's get, Dr. Brace will go into the specifics of our recommendations in a few minutes, but I want to take a look at our current funding situation. So this budget is based on the governor's introduced amended biennial budget. This is the second year of the biennial budget. He introduced this budget last year. This is the second year, so he's made amendments to it. He introduced this budget on December 18, 2024. As you know, the legislators in the General Assembly are deliberating on the budget, and they're also making changes to it. So this probably won't be the final revenue picture that we see based on General Assembly action. But as of now, this is the best information that we have, and that's why we use the governor's budget each year to make our presentation. As state funding fluctuates every year, it's really early to tell what is going to play out, but these are our best estimates at this time for what we have. Some of the things in the governor's budget, as I said, this is the second year of the biennium. They make updates to average daily membership, which is the basis for how we get funded. Sales tax revenue projections, as well as lottery revenue projections. This budget included a 3% salary increase for SOQ positions, and we want to keep that in mind that it's only for SOQ positions. They only fund those positions that are in SOQ, which are the minimum standards of staffing a school division. nobody staffs at the minimum level because those minimum levels are unrealistic, for lack of a better term, to fund, but the state funds on those areas. The local composite index, being the second year of the biennium, stayed the same at 0.2369. Roughly what that means is, of the revenues that they provide to us, we're supposed to provide a local match of about 24%, and the state part picks up 74% of that revenue. In a nutshell, that's what the local composite index does. Next slide. So the budgeted revenue sources that we have, here are the revenue sources we have, and I'll start first with the state funding. You have state funds of about 121.6 million, as well as the sales tax funds at 19.7 million. That brings us to a total of about 141.4 million from the state. We're looking at about a 162 student decrease in ADM based on the state projections, which is what this funding is based on. That is the primary consideration of state funding, as well as I've talked about the local composite index is the second that determines how much money you get from the state. From the city, we've kept our projected revenue the same as last year, $78.7 million. And obviously, as Dr. Bracy goes through, we'll talk about that in a little bit further going forward. You also see that we have other funds, which is about $2.2 million. That includes rentals, interest, any recoveries that we have through the process. And then federal funds, that's about 1% of our budget, about $700,000. That includes impact aid, which is the biggest driver of that, as well as funding that we get for our RTC programs that we have. So you will see that those funding sources are there, and that is where our funding is coming from. And the total of all of that is $223 million for this year. So that's our total revenue that we're expecting at this time. And now I'll turn this presentation over to Dr. Bracy. He's going to go further into the estimate of needs.
All right, thank you, Mr. Falk. So the estimate of needs that I present to you tonight is not an exhaustive list, but it's not a small request either. It should also come as no surprise to you, our board members, around this table, or to our viewing public watching at home. Tonight I'm making my formal request for the $14.8 million to address the salary compression in our pay scales.
Yes.
This will ensure that our employees are being compensated not only fairly, but also competitively in a market that is in a constant demand for skilled educators and staff. I say this comes as no surprise because our division has been working toward this recommendation for the better part of 2 years. We hired an outside firm to come in and do a full analysis of our job titles, job descriptions, and salary ranges, as well as an evaluation of other local and similar-sized school divisions. They made their calculations and shared with us the funding amounts necessary to ensure our teachers and staff members were caught up with the industry standards. We shared this information with the City Council in the fall and requested at that time the full amount to be funded at $14.8 million. For context, people at home may be asking, how is teacher pay this far behind? We see that everyone gets a raise each year. People make more money the longer they work for you. That's how salaries work. In theory, that sounds right, but in practice, it's all wrong. While we have given annual raises, we have not given a step increase in pay in close to a decade. That means that when we give a raise, everyone at every level of the pay scale gets that same increase. So when we hire you at a set salary this year and then put a 3% raise in place for the next year, that means that the salary set for the new hire next year also gets the 3% raise. Yeah. That the new hire will be making the same as what you're making, despite having more experience. That has been compounded and compounded for our staff members since 2016. What does that look like? As we've shared with you last year, our staff members who have 6 years of experience are making the same amount as a brand new teacher. 6 years. It's not until year 6 you progress to a new step or placement on the pay scale, and you see an adjustment in pay. This is one example, but compression is seen throughout our scale. Unfortunately, across the nation, we're in the midst of a teacher shortage and a decline in people who are looking to join the field of education. That means that the staff we have working for us are precious commodities. Yet, when you work in a region like Hampton Roads, retaining those veteran teachers is next to impossible. Why? We're just 10 to 20 miles away, 10 to 20 minutes away from Norfolk, Suffolk, Chesapeake, and Virginia Beach. That's a pretty easy commute in any direction. And it's not an exaggeration when I tell you that our experienced teachers can go work for one of those divisions and instantly make a $10,000 to $12,000 more a year. Now, we pride ourselves on providing a great working environment for our staff members, including support, opportunities for career progression, access to the latest technology, and many more things. However, I ultimately cannot fault anyone for wanting to do better for themselves and their families. So here we are. This destination has been a long time coming. We've heard about compensation concerns from our staff members for some time. We've done the best that we can, including a 7% raise for all staff last year. We've increased our recruitment efforts to include international staffing pipelines. We've contracted outside instructional staff to fill in vacancies. The issue, though, is why we're still losing our veteran teachers who have mastery not only in content and instructional delivery, but also classroom management and navigating the social, emotional, and mental health needs of today's generation of students. And we're replacing this loss with newer, less experienced, who again, we're grateful to have, who have their own respective strengths, but they need development as anyone new to a job does. The overriding problem then is our accreditation. It's placed squarely on the shoulders of our classroom teachers and how successful they are. Therefore, we're being held accountable based on the work and experience of a staff who are newer to the profession and the lack of training, expertise, and skill set of those who've been in the role for years, if not decades more. Let me show you what that looks like for us recently. On the screen, you'll see a breakdown of our licensed teachers based on years of experience from the past 3 years. The blue bar represents teachers with 0 to 4 years of experience. The orange is for teachers with 5 to 10 years of experience. And the gray represents teachers with 10 years experience. Each year, the number of our veteran teachers has declined. Specifically, we have 36 fewer teachers with 10 or more years of experience in our classrooms today than we did 2 years ago. We have another 61 fewer teachers with 5 to 10 years experience from 2 years ago. That is 97 veteran skilled and experienced teachers that we have lost. And we have lost them due to our inability to compensate them competitively. I also want to make sure that these are our licensed teachers. This does not include staff that we have contracted to cover classroom vacancies who are not licensed or long-term substitutes who are covering classrooms. With this $14.8 million, we are projected to be the number one division for teacher salaries in the region. I fully believe this will help us in our recruiting efforts, including inviting the staff that we have lost in the past 3 to 5 years to come back home. It will also help us encourage staff who are in sister divisions to come and see how they can shine brighter together with us in Portsmouth. If you were to sum up what my estimate of needs is, you would be right to say employee pay. That is my focus and my priority. It is also why the $14.8 million is not only funding we need for compensation. For this year's budget, the governor has put in a 3% raise for all staff members. We are certainly in support of that. However, as in every case each year, the state only provides funding for raises for the SOQ positions, or standards of quality positions. SOQ positions are bare minimum staffing requirements from the states. Localities, including our own, have staff above the SOQ level. For example, positions such as bus drivers, school nurses are not SOQ positions. SOQ allocations for assistant principals can vary, but can be just 1 AP for every 2 to 3 elementary schools. Here in Portsmouth, Only about half of our employees are SOQ positions, and therefore we have to locally make up the difference for every raise given by the state. Therefore, in order to give a 3% raise this year for our staff members, we also need additional funds. And I want to be clear, this does not address compensation. This is just in order to be in line with the state raise for next year. The $14.8 million is to course correct our pay scales to ensure that there's rightful pay for all employees. As such, the total amount of money needed for this raise is $5.2 million. While employee pay is the focus of my budget, and it's a large request, I do want to be transparent and share that I have additional staffing that also needs to be included for the upcoming year. As you know, our PACE Center is set to open next year. We have 4 teachers we need to add to the center: welding, automotive, building trades, and cybersecurity. This has an estimated cost of $442,000. We're in our second year of our dual language immersion program, which means we need 3 DLI teachers for the first grade level. This has an estimated cost of $312,000. The state has made changes to the required allocations of students for the student and staff ratio for English as second language instruction. Due to the state mandate, which was unfunded, we need 10 new ESL teachers throughout the division. This has an estimated cost of $975,000. Finally, the security of our students, staff, and guests remains a paramount concern for me and our Office of School Safety. At this time, we have only 1 full-time security officer and 1 part-time security officer at our elementary schools. We have seen an increased need for the part-time person to be upgraded to full-time in order to have constant coverage at the school. That is an upgrade of 13 positions at an estimated cost of $439,400. Similarly, at our middle schools, we need to add another full-time security officer. These 3 full-time positions have an estimated cost of $187,200. All total, these staffing and security needs will cost roughly $2.4 million. Now, if you've been running calculations in your mind as I've been going through this presentation, you probably see a very large sum right now. Addressing employee compensation, the state raise, and these new positions would require an additional $22.4 million in funding. However, I want to make it clear that we've done everything we can on our end to minimize our final request to the city. Not only have we limited and delayed initiatives, we also have pulled from every funding stream possible. Specifically, the state made recalculations to their contributions this year and also made funding sources that were formerly tied to mandates more flexible for localities to use. We have poured all of those funds into addressing this year's needs. As such, with our strategic use of all funds available to us, we're now asking for $9.4 million from the city in order to meet these needs, and again, specifically to address the needs for employee compensation. Again, I want to thank the school board for its advocacy throughout this budget development process as we've worked to address compensation for our employees. We've been on one accord in this effort from the beginning, and it's my deep hope that we will be able to thank our dedicated staff, both with our words and our funds, come this spring. Thank you, and Mr. Falk and I are happy to take any questions you may have.
Thank you, Dr. Bracy. I first want to say thank you for the presentation, but also I was shocked at the ask amount. It was much lower than what we expected. I know for the compensation study, it was $14.8 million by itself. As for us to be requesting all of that and only asking $9 million from the city, that shows great stewardship on our part, but also thanks to the work in Richmond for giving us additional funds in the state budget as well. So thank you for that. And I just want to, for some of our newer board members, I just want to go over SOQ, standards of quality. So basically, the state sets what they feel is necessary to meet basic standards for school divisions across the Commonwealth. So for instance, they may say you only need 1 assistant principal in a certain school, But we know, based on our population, student population, that what's needed there, we needed 2 or 3 there. So they're only going to fund us for that one they feel like is necessary. So whenever they say they're only funding SOQ funded positions, that's what they mean in reference to that. But then also, just want to clarify that we're asking for this money will cover the compensation study results and also a 3% on top of that. So the staff will get both this year. Okay. Do we have any questions?
Have we heard anything? I saw other funds, and I know that it would probably channel the city council on any funds that ever came from the casino.
Not to my knowledge.
No.
Okay, so that never happened. Thank you. All right. That's all I had.
Okay. Vice Chair.
Thank you, Chair. So once the council approves the 14 million, how would that be divvied? None. None. So altogether it's 14 for the compensation, right?
Yeah, but because of the extra funds, how we
We don't
pull
ask
for the
for that.
place, we don't ask for that.
Okay. So how would that be paid out to teachers? Would it be like one lump sum? Would it be over a year? How would that be distributed to them?
If I follow the question, the steps,
Yeah.
they will be placed on their appropriate step.
Okay.
So if they're at a step 5 now, they should be on step 13. The adjustment will be made.
One paycheck, or
There's no
Contract.
it wouldn't be no money owed to them, right?
No.
Okay, that's
no.
what I was.
We're fixing it now. Yeah, we're not going back.
Gotcha. That's
We're
what I was
adjusting
asking.
right now where we are.
Okay, gotcha. That's what I was
So
asking.
their
When we
new
going
annual
back.
salary would be where they're supposed to be, plus the raises, and then that would be paid to them over the contract year.
Gotcha. I was
And I guess this-
wondering
I
about the
guess what-
retroactive. Right.
Yeah, probably when you hear us say, when they leave us to go to Chesapeake or some
Right.
other school division, they leave where they are on our scale and placed appropriately there. And the difference in that could be $10,000 to $12,000.
Right.
Not that they give them.
Right.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Gotcha. Ms. Wayne.
So they'll get that appropriate step plus that 3%.
Yes.
And I will also say that this has been one of our more modest budget requests because that we stuck strictly to staff compensation and school safety. You know, a lot of times people say, "Oh, they're using money to fill positions they don't need and stuff not affecting the classroom." This is directly affecting the pay of our staff and the safety of our students. So it's not a hard ask. It's not a tough ask. It's easy to defend. We want our students safe, and we want to retain our staff. And I want to thank you all for being really focused on that.
Thank you.
Vice Chair.
Thank you, Chair. Just one follow-up question, just to piggyback off Dr. Cotton. So in the first year when the casino was open and it was 16 million from the casino, none of that went to the school division?
We didn't get a
About 16
direct
million?
allocation from casino revenues.
Okay.
Anything that the city would have gave us, wherever they got it from, we would know. But there's no direct allocation that says you get a certain percentage to the
Right.
schools for the casino.
got it.
That does not exist.
So we have tried that, correct, to say, hey, a percentage of that, but nothing so far. We don't have a direct percentage that comes to us.
We have in our meetings and our school board council meetings that we have requested that on several occasions for us to have something in writing. One of the issues that we came across is because we get a new council every 2 years, of course, they can go back and change that. So to answer your question, no. When the casino first came about, and we asked because we saw the revenue, we asked for us to have some type of stipend, something that we can be provided. And it was well, that's a good discussion. That was what was stated. That's a good discussion, but nothing was put in writing. Nothing was stated that, yes, we agree that you guys should get 1%, 2%, 3%, whatever the case may be. It's just an ongoing discussion of, yes, that's a good discussion, but nothing has been put in place.
Thank you, Chief.
Just to give clarity on why I asked, you know, I sat on a lot of meetings that had nothing to do with city council or the school board about the casino coming, and that was definitely a selling point. And when we went into trouble and all that back and forth last year, and I'm gonna be more verbal about it, as far as our budget and this wasn't right and that wasn't done, if they really look at that, it should curtail whatever costs we ask for, because the city does receive their funds from that. And I thank those who are on that liaison committee with the city council, but to echo our fellow board members, that we could go ahead and get something in writing. I understand that that changes every 2 years, but it's been people who've been there longer than 2 years, and they were very verbal with us last year on a lot of issues, and I feel that as a board, we need to be more verbal about that. So let's match the energy. And I say that to all of my fellow board members. That's all I have. That's why I asked, though. Thank you.
Funny for the schools. Funny for
Anyone
the
else?
schools.
Make a note of that, Dr.
It's on the
Johnson.
casino. We're gonna find the
All
schools.
right. Well, thank you so much, Dr. Briggs. And we do meet with
They made that
the
shit.
city council on Monday. So we will present the same presentation to them on Monday as far as what our needs are. And I'll be speaking with Dr. Bracy as well after his meeting with the city manager tomorrow to discuss further what the items we can discuss.
Sounds
Monday
good.
as well. And I'll relay that to you all as soon as I find out.
Thank you.
All right.
Take care of anything we ask for.
Agenda item 3.9 is the agenda review, February 20th. You'll see that there. Of course, anything you need to have added to the agenda, please give me a call, Dr. Bracy, so we can get that added to the agenda for you. And item 3.11 is the subcommittee reports. Do we have any reports from our subcommittee meetings?
I do.
Ms. Shoemake.
I'll try to go through this really quickly. For the Human Resources Committee, we met the other day, and they've been doing some really great things. Our new Chief Human Resources Officer, Ms. Jackson, has been doing great improvements and changes within the HR department. So they've done a reorganization, basically a realignment in the HR department, and they also are focusing on recruitment. So they have a recruitment team, and they also have a strategy affiliated with the recruitment team. They also have created a mentor-mentee program, team building events. As far as recruitment, they are participating in, of course, job fairs, as always, sporting events around Hampton Roads area to make sure that we have more of a presence, a bigger presence than what we already had, so that people are well aware of who we are and what we offer. One of the main things I was impressed by is at Norfolk Airport, we have advertisement there, and we plan on expanding from there. So just to let you guys know, I know sometimes people ask, well, what are we doing? They have at least 10 or 12 job fairs that they're going to attend from February all the way up until June. So just to kind of give everybody an update as to what's going on with the HR department.
Thank you so much. I do want to say finance. Were you going to say anything about that? For the finance committee, we basically just went over Dr. Bracy's estimate of needs during the finance committee meeting. And we applauded Mr. Falk and Dr. Bracy's rest of his staff for putting the budget together for that. And for our new board members, we normally have our board member budget meetings with Dr. Bracy and Mr. Falk, normally around October. When was it? When you gonna do it?
November, December.
November, somewhere in that time. And we normally do 2 board members at a time that meet with Dr. Bracy and Mr. Falk to give you input on budget at time as well. All right. Dr. Cotton, you have anything?
I listened to Dr. Simmons earlier. That's basically what I had for a report to give on the pace, and he said enough, and not to be the dead animal, but the questions that you all had, a couple questions you had, I think he answered, but we're moving in a good direction, and we're still trying to staff that position and also get that contract awarded. So I just echo him.
All right. Thank you. Anyone have anything else?
Well, Ms. Sessions and I were on curriculum instruction. They met Monday, February the 3rd, under the direction of Dr. DeVries, and each discipline content area under those disciplines went over that updates and happenings that are also listed in the board docs that Dr. DeVries will go over on the 20th as well. One highlight that I just wanted to make was about they were sharing all the good information about the dual language immersion program that was under what Mr. Malachi was stating, and then also another highlight was the Be Your Own Valentine from under the special ed department, which is happening on February the 12th from 5 to 7 at Clark. So they were 2 great takeaways that we learned about on that committee meeting.
Okay, thank you so much. Anyone else? All right. If we don't have any other committee meeting reports, and we have this meeting adjourned with my fake gavel.